So the first half of the fellowship, learned just a ton from the scholars, learned a lot from my fellows, and the whole Middle Eastern, Israeli, Jewish relations. That's one of my blind spots. Even being a Jesus follower, I'm familiar with the scriptures as far as kind of what it talks about with the history of Judaism. But as far as those like current relations, basically when that kind of stuff would come on the news, I just would flip the channel because I just really didn't know what was going on, and it just seemed really super complex. So the way the scholars just elucidated the scriptures just really brought it to life for me. And one of the big takeaways for me from the scholars has been the way that there's these similarities in the faith traditions. And it's one thing to hear about the similarities, it's another to see them written down and to see those similarities in the scripture, and to be able to see in each faith tradition scripture, and to go, oh, this stuff is like real. And so it really culminated for me in, I was watching a documentary, or it's like a documentary type thing on Netflix about the Church of the Nativity siege in the early 2000s. And I remember hearing about that, but again, like I said, I would just kind of just keep going. So watching that thing now, just really, and with everything that we've been learning, just really was heavy for me, and hearing firsthand accounts of folks who were there and involved in that siege. Because the siege wasn't just the Church of the Nativity, it was actually the whole city of Bethlehem. And so that was heavy. And then putting that all together, and check my notes really quick. Oh, okay, yeah. So it really helped me to see, as a black man in the United States, kind of those parallels between Christian nationalism and also a particular aspect of Judaism, and how white supremacy kind of gets in there, and then also how it gets played out on the world stage. Because one of the things that I found from one of our fellows, she told me, well, Israelis or Jews are white until they're not. And I just remember that being really salient in me analyzing this whole thing of these relations. So it's been good. I'm in the middle of kind of really still figuring these things out. So these are just kind of my thoughts, and they're not really well defined because I'm still navigating them. And how I've been putting that in play with my work is when I'm trying to just really enact economic justice from my work standpoint. When I find out that folks have a particular faith tradition, then what I do is, now that I have that ammunition, so to speak, then I use that in pressing economic justice for marginalized communities, and press those scriptures now that I have, to get them to, even if they don't act that way, to at least get them to think about it, and maybe they won't act in an economically just manner this time, but maybe they will next time. But I'm just doing what my job is, and that is using the information that you guys have given me and pressing for economic justice. Thank you. Appreciate y'all.